I flew DJI drones for years, and I had no idea this even existed. And when I saw it, it completely changed how I see flying. It didn't feel like a drone. It felt like I was inside it, like a fighter pilot. Ow! And I went down the rabbit hole and realized this wasn't as simple as it looked. So I decided to try it for myself. And what I found was completely different to what I expected. Firstly, FPV drones are fully manual. There's no stabilization, no safety net, at least with traditional FPV. Not like something like the Avata 2, but at the time I discovered FPV, that wasn't even around. With regular DJI drones, or what I call GPS drones, to keep it simple, they're doing a lot of the flying for you. They're stabilized, precise, and honestly they're great at what they do, but they're never immersive. And when you look at FPV footage, it's different. It looks exhilarating, especially when you're watching pilots like Mr. Steele or Captain Vanover pulling off these insane moves. A Mavic style drone just can't do that. It's not designed for that kind of flying. FPV drones are purpose built for movement, for acrobatics, for control. And that's the biggest difference between the two, the flying experience. And for me, someone who's always wanted to be a pilot growing up, but never got to pursue it, this felt like the next best thing. That feeling of actually flying, being in control. So at the time, living alone in the basement apartment in Canada, I just thought, I have to try this. Oh, I missed the Yes! Yes! Now, my main reason for wanting to try FPV wasn't just for the thrill of flying, it was to become a better pilot. I wanted to differentiate myself from everyone else flying regular Mavic or GPS drones. Let's face it, especially now in 2026, so many people fly drones. I think it's something like 26 million, which is amazing, but it also raises the question, how do you actually stand out when most people have a similar skill set? It's a bit like going to university, getting a degree, and then everyone graduates at the same time. How does an employer decide who to pick? You kind of get what I mean. Don't get me wrong, competition is a good thing. It pushes us to improve. But for me, stepping into FPV meant I was increasing my skill set and learning how to fly in full manual without relying on automation. I was in control, and that's what was going to make me a better pilot. And if millions of people are flying drones, I can guarantee far fewer are flying FPV at a high level. Which means when someone is looking for something different, not just standard drone shots, you can offer something more dynamic and more engaging. And you can see that when you watch pilots like Mr. Steele or Captain Vanover. That's the level that inspired me to get into FPV in the first place. So I finally decided to get started, and it didn't go how I expected. Now, before I even flew outside, I actually picked up one of these, a tiny one. And they're great. Think of them like training wheels. You can fly them indoors and crash into stuff and they just bounce off. I even built my own little racetrack in my apartment just to challenge myself and try and beat my lap times. Lap after lap, crash after crash. It was fun, and it pushed me to learn the controls faster, just like the simulator. And that's where things got a bit more real. So after months of flying in the sim and racing around my basement apartment with the Tiny Whip, I finally picked up my first FPV drone. But before I could even fly, I had to set everything up. And at the time, FPV wasn't Mac friendly, so even connecting the drone was a challenge. But after a bit of digging, I eventually got everything working. And straight away, you realize this isn't just plug and play like DJI. Then came the classic rookie mistake where I put my props the wrong way round and I tore up my landing pad. After fixing that quickly, I finally got in the air. And I was excited, but also nervous. I didn't have much space in the back garden, so I was trying not to crash. I went for a small punch out, lost control, and almost instantly cut power, and the drone dropped straight into my neighbor's garden. So yeah, had to go and retrieve that. And that's when it really hits you. Even after all that practice, there's still a lot to learn. This isn't forgiving. After spending about 6 months in Cyprus back in 2022, this is where I finally had the freedom to fly. I was finding empty locations and just flying in full manual. And this is where it clicked. There is literally nothing assisting you. The moment you let go of the sticks, the drone doesn't correct itself. It just stays on path. You're controlling everything: throttle, pitch, roll, yaw, all at once. But as you start getting used to it, you build confidence and you almost become one with the drone. And that's when it starts to feel like being a fighter pilot. And it's such a cool feeling. Especially when you start pushing it more, flying through the gaps and diving terrain, taking those kinds of risks. The movement just feels completely different. And eventually you hit this kind of flow state where you're not really thinking about every input anymore. It just happens. It becomes second nature. The best way I can describe it is like what Ayrton Senna talked about during the Monaco qualifying lap.
Today, I suddenly realized that I was no longer driving it conscious, and I was in a different dimension for me.
And that's exactly what FPV flow state can feel like. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, you know. But this is the part not many really talk about. Before I could even get in the air, there was a lot of research. It's not like a normal drone where you just turn it on and start flying. That's what makes DJI drones so good. The learning curve is short and you can start capturing shots almost straight away. With FPV, it's different. There's a lot more to learn. Of course, today DJI has made learning curve a little shorter with the Avata 2, but if we stick to traditional route first, you got the simulator, which you need to spend time in, and then there's the drone itself. What do you even buy? There's so many options out there. But the bigger challenge is the ecosystem. Choosing a radio, understanding what protocol you're running. When I started, ELRS was just coming in and Crossfire was the main thing. And if you don't know what that means, that's exactly the point. These are the kinds of things you have to figure out. And even when you finally get your hands on your first kit, it doesn't stop there. You got firmware updates, compatibility issues, especially at the time when Mac wasn't really supported, so there were always workarounds. Then you're dealing with batteries, charging safely, making sure you don't set anything on fire. And yes, it's not cheap. Even if individual parts aren't that expensive, there are a lot of small things you need to buy, and that adds up over time. That's the thing with FPV. You're not just learning how to fly, you're learning the whole system. It's almost like a DIY kit. You take it step by step, figuring things out as you go. And when I was learning, there wasn't really a clear manual. It was just piecing things together from YouTube videos. And that's why it's not beginner friendly for everyone. It can feel like a headache. But at the same time, that's part of the process. These are the ups and downs, but the reward is there if you stick with it. And this is where the crashes come in. When you learn FPV, you're going to crash. It's part of the process. Sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it isn't. But either way, you have to accept it. My biggest loss was here in Cyprus in my first year of flying, and it was completely my fault. I was traveling and wanted to capture some FPV shots, so I went to the sea caves in Ayia Napa. I was already nervous because I was flying over water, and if you crash, it's gone. First flight was fine. Honestly, one of my most nerve-wracking flights I'd done, but I made it back. Then I moved to another spot, the Bridge of Love. And let's just say love was not on my side that day. I was feeling more confident after my first flight, and I even power looped the arch. And I remember thinking, I can't believe I just did that. But then I made a mistake. I turned around to check out the caves behind me, which already meant I wasn't facing the right direction for signal. I was hovering and slowly dropping down to look inside, and then the video feed just cut. And that was it. Gone. Not only the drone, but my Insta360 Go 2 as well. 500 pounds gone, just like that. Even if I did recover it, it would have been water damaged. And when I played back the goggles feed, I saw that the bitrate dropped and I completely lost signal. With today's tech, it might have survived, but back then, that was it. And that was a hard lesson. Always be aware of your signal and never fly behind obstacles like rock where it can't get through. Then there's this. Again, another mistake by me. After coming back to Canada to try and restart my life again, I was hanging out with my friends, flying my drone, showing them my new skills that I've acquired, and I got a bit cocky. After doing a 180 flip, I wasn't able to catch it out the maneuver and it crashed into the ground. And with the weight of the Action 2, it ripped out the FPV camera. At this stage, I still hadn't built a drone, so I wasn't able to repair it. So that's another broken drone down and money down the drain again. At the point I'm at now, where I can comfortably fly FPV, doing flips, rolls, split S, diving towers, one of the biggest things that surprised me is that it's actually not as impossible as it looked. You just have to trust the process. Yes, today we have better technology like the Avata 2, but these still have some safety aids which might take away from the flying experience not being fully in control. Which is why the simulator genuinely helps. It saves you a lot of time, and more importantly, it saves you money. Because if you jump straight in and realize FPV isn't for you, you could end up wasting hundreds or even thousands on gear. And like I said earlier, you will crash. That's part of it. But most of the time, it's not as bad as you think. FPV drones are built to take hits. You crash, replace a few props, flip it over, and you're back in the air. The learning curve is steep, but it's not impossible. You don't need to learn everything at once. Just take it step by step, and if you stick with it, you'll see progress. Another thing is how repairable everything is. A lot of people in the FPV community end up learning how to build and fix their own drones, which makes things much quicker compared to something like DJI, where you have to send it off and wait before you get flying again. Of course, unless you lose the drone completely, then you just have to take one on the chin. But the good thing is, technology is improving, and we have things like GPS rescue and altitude hold, which make it a bit more forgiving than it used to be. If you made it this far, I know you're a real one. You've heard my experience, and FPV probably excites you. But I'm going to be real with you here. This is where you decide if it's actually for you or not. Before I tell you, I'd really appreciate if you can give this video a like. It lets me know that you enjoy content like this, and it also tells YouTube to share with others who share the same passion with us. And if you want to see more videos on drones and FPV, then hit that subscribe button, and that way I know to make more videos like this. And while you're at it, why did you click this video? Let me know in the comments section down below. And what is it you want to know about FPV? Because it's not for everyone. I've seen people get motion sickness from the goggles, especially when you start doing more aggressive flying. And if that happens, you either push through it, or this just might not be for you. You can fly using a screen like a simulator, but it's not the same experience. Also, people learn at different speeds. Some pick it up quickly, others take more time. And that's completely normal. You just have to stick to your own pace and not compare yourself to others. If you're looking for something simple and plug and play, then honestly, you're probably better off sticking with DJI, something like the Avata 2. It's easier to fly, but it does come with trade-offs. If you crash, you're likely dealing with downtime or replacements. But if you enjoy the challenge, if you like figuring things out or tinkering and actually learning how things work, then traditional FPV drone will suit you much better. And if your goal is to become a better drone pilot, not just get the shot, then FPV will give you that. So when you look at regular DJI drones and FPV, both still have their place. I still fly regular drones all the time. They give you smooth, stabilized shots, you can take photos, they're easier to use, and they're much more practical, especially when it comes to regulations. FPV can't really replace that. But FPV is more fun. It's more dynamic, more immersive, and it lets you capture shots that regular drones just can't do. It also opens up completely different styles of flying, whether that's freestyle, cinematic FPV, long range, or racing. And that's really the difference. If you want something easy that just works, then stick to regular Mavic drones. But if you want to become a better pilot, then FPV forces that. And if you're thinking about getting into FPV, the first mistake people make is that they don't start in the simulator. Oh, and YouTube recommends you watch this next.